This week on Reliving the Extreme, we are reviewing, it could be a short episode, folks. We are reviewing the episode of ECW from December the 21st, 1995. Nate Maxson, your host, here with you, along with my brother Aaron.
Hello.
And, of course, Mr.
Looking for some hot love. Chad Austin.
You're not finding it on this episode of ECW, that's for sure. And we
Unless
will get into...
Unless you're like a blonde guy with a collarless shirt and suspenders.
Who, me?
You're like a blonde-haired, blue-eyed guy, collarless shirt and suspenders. If you do, and you like to hear him, that's Shane fucking Dunn. Fucking half an hour. Dear Lord.
Oh, I thought you were describing me, except for the suspenders. I thought maybe you were looking at my shirt the wrong way. I'm blonde hair with blue eyes. I was like, wait a minute. I ain't got suspenders.
This episode of the show, which we'll dig into in a bit, is definitely, and I'm sure you guys will agree with me, they were like, look, Paulie, we have nothing left from our last taping. Nothing. Well, can we have Shane Douglas cut a promo for 30 minutes?
You can have whatever you want, but nobody asked if anybody said, I guarantee you didn't tell them beforehand, hey, can we have Shane Douglas cut a good promo for 30 minutes? They said, no, can we have Shane cut a promo for 30 minutes? Oh, yeah, he cut a promo for 30 minutes, but about 14 and a half into it, you're going to be fucking shaking your head going, I'm sorry I made that mistake and okayed that shit. What the fuck was he talking about? Ricky Steamboat? Like, was he foreshadowing? He was talking about stuff was going to happen like 10 years down the road. Let me tell you something, dark. It's going to be a dark side of the ring when I get you in the ring, whatever. You know?
When they make tales of the territories.
Oh, yeah. Let me tell you something, Brian Adias. And then he realized I never worked Brian Adias.
I haven't got to watch the Portland one yet. I did watch the Florida, the Memphis, and what's another one too? The Calgary,
Dallas.
Which, by the way, the Calgary one, Brett looks like his fucking dad. Like, I was like, Jesus Christ, he looks just like Stu sitting there talking to Abdullah the Butcher, and
looks dead.
Well, no, okay, not exactly like his father now, but
yeah, the Portland one's great, but you have to be a fan of Portland. Like, I mean, you can't just go and if you went into it blind, not knowing shit about Portland, you're gonna be going, what the fuck? This is garbage. Because it was garbage. It was garbage for a while, and then it got real hot for a ramen noodle thing. Got real hot for a ramen noodle, and then after that, it got bad again for a long time. So you had to kind of stick with it because you know how wrestling comes in cycles and stuff.
Right.
Well, the cycle for when Portland was good was very, very short.
I haven't seen that episode yet. Who do they have on the panel for?
Oh my God. Some fucking who do you have? Jesus Christ! Now I can't even remember who it was.
Rose.
Well, it wasn't Buddy Rose. Wasn't Sandy Barr. Actually, I don't even remember who it was at this point. It was a bunch of I think Mike Miller may have been on it, and he didn't come until later on. He didn't come until like the late 80s.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they didn't really have anybody on there. Like, there's no chance you're getting Don Owen. Yeah, I mean, Dutch could have been on there. Dutch was in Portland for a little while. Dude, everybody came through Portland when Portland was good. You know? I mean, Just imagine the fact that I'm going to tell you that Buddy Rose versus Dynamite Kid was fantastic. You know, you'd be like, where the fuck was that good at? Portland. You know, it was good. And Billy Jack Haynes, like, pretty much beating up Don Owens. Like, it was one of them things. It was an angle that, like, Billy Jack was like turning heel on the people because it was a great angle. When he was broke, he claimed the people of Portland turned on him. Then they didn't support him. They didn't do anything for him and all. And then he tried to come back to wrestling for another run. And then Don Owens, who was like 82 years old, out there trying to put him over. And then Billy Jack gets all offended by him. And then Billy Jack puts him in like the full Nelson. You can't you can't even you can't even thumb wrestle Don Owens without him getting hurt. You can't put him in the full Nelson. I mean,
the man will turn to dust.
Chad almost said you can't
jerking him around and stuff.
Chad almost said you can't even finger Don Owens.
Portland was pretty good, man. I mean, I recommend it's a great laugh if you just have some friends over on a Friday night, Saturday night, and you throw on some like 1991, 92, whatever Portland, you'll laugh. It's pretty bad.
Did you see the Florida episode?
Right, I've seen everything.
I love the story on the Florida episode that Kern tells about Eddie Graham drunkenly flying the plane into the fireworks display at Disney World. It's like, Jesus Christ.
That sounds like something that could only happen in wrestling.
Yep.
I mean, there's not a Girl Scout troop out there telling stories on a podcast like this about how their drunken den mother, flew a helicopter or whatever, airplane into a firecracker display kind of thing. That's like, only in wrestling can you get away with that shit.
Like the Mad Dog Vachon story where he tries to open the fucking hatch on the airplane. He's like, "Today's a good day to die," and he's like trying to fucking open the goddamn thing.
Dude, can you almost just not believe that? I mean, I could go, that didn't happen. There's just fucking no way that happened. You know what I mean? Like, I can just sit there and say, there's just no way that this happened. But we're talking, what was this, 1980? What was the FAA? Was Stevie Richards in it? The FAA, and Serena Deed. I mean, they haven't figured out their authority yet. So yeah, when I hear a story like somebody opening up a plane door like on mid-flight, I just gotta go, there's just no way this happens. But I don't know about you. I guess if he said it, nobody's disputing it. Maybe Mad Dog Vachon really did do it.
Pro wrestlers are a unique breed of cat. Well, those pro wrestlers. And, like you said, it's probably before really, really tight airline security and shit. And just like back in the 70s and early 80s, and you hear about Harley Race just driving at 120 miles an hour, drinking a beer, smoking a cigarette. He never get pulled over. Or if he did, they let him go because he was Harley Race.
But that's driving a car, drinking a beer, smoking a cigarette. Almost all three singularly, whatever how you say it, aren't illegal. You put them together, only two of them are illegal. So we're talking about a guy who's 30,000 feet above air. Hey, I'm just gonna it's not a sunroof, Mad Dog Vachon. You're not gonna get a little. Hey, it's gonna, because back, I guess you could still smoke on the airplane back then. And he's probably yelling at who's smoking. I'm gonna get some air in here. It's not. You're not cracking the little window thing in there. You're opening an airplane door at 30,000 feet.
Yeah, this isn't a T-bird. God damn it. Well, 3 days before this episode of ECW aired, Thomas Edward Gilbert Jr., who we know as Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert, passed away February 18th, 1995. And I know, Chad, you have talked a lot about Eddie being kind of a mentor to you and things. And I was just wondering, reflecting back on the fact that he passed away as we're talking about this episode of ECW, any really good Eddie stories you got for us?
Well, I could never get a good Eddie story because I was most of my Eddie stories I wasn't officially in the business. It was always fandom stories. So every time I called him, which was usually like well after a show, in the early days, you called him when everybody caught the guys like that, when they're just kind of like daytime kind of thing. But getting into the early 90s, when I started working and getting interested, and he was kind of like the guy that I liked, that I hung around, and we just happened to just be at the same shows all the time, all the same shows. If it had Corluzzo's name on it, we were there, and we would just run into each other all the time. And I'd always be like the number one guy putting over Eddie and stuff. And if he didn't bring Freddie Gillum with him, he didn't have anybody to sell his merchandise. So there was, I don't even know what town it was. It was somewhere for Carluzzo. He just grabbed me and was like, "Hey, can you do me a favor?" I'm like, "What's that, buddy?" Can you just sit here? All right, sit here and do what? He goes, collect $20 bills. All right, sure.
Simple job. Simple job description.
Like everything on the table was $20. You know what I mean? So it was basically how much the picture? $20. T-shirt, $20. What size you get? Medium? No, we're large. Never mind. You get a medium tonight. $20. And then at the end of the night, I just hand Eddie like a stack of $20. You know, a $20 stack of thing, whatever. And he'd peel off a little something, and then very few times I was ever allowed to go to like what's the place that they all go to? Waffle House. And I'm not even sure that Waffle House was the place we went to up here in New Jersey. It was that Shoney's, or it wasn't Waffle House, I don't think, up here, up this far. And I was just always like, he didn't believe my age, how old I was, because we're only a couple years of age apart. Like we're like, when I looked at how old he was, like, and shit, I'm like, dude, we're not even that fucking old. Like, like I'm looking at him like he's been in the business like 15 years longer than me or whatever.
He was what? Sorry, you said he was what, 35?
He was 30. He was 33 when he died. And I mean, he started wrestling in 77. So, but that would have made him 33. That would have made him born in like 61 or 62, and he starts wrestling in 77, I think.
No, I think he was born in like 60. He was born like in like 66 or something. Like he started working in. He didn't really start in the early 70s. He was traveling with his father in the early 70s. Mm-hmm. He didn't even get that Memphis thing until he was like 15, 16. And that was like 76, 77 with the Tommy Rich, with the Fabulous Ones gimmick. With the Tupelo concession stand brawl.
Right.
Because that wasn't even the original one, correct? Wasn't the original one with the one with Lawler?
Yes, Lawler, right? And Honky, and yeah,
and Tojo. Please tell me Tojo was there. It's my personal favorite. Like you just insert Tojo Yamamoto into anything, and automatically
Tojo's one of those guys that was always old. Like I've never seen young Tojo Yamamoto. He's always old.
No, there's no young Tojo.
That old when he died. But
he was only in his 50s.
Yeah, that original concession brawl was what
Larry Latham.
Yeah, that's the one that gave Onita the thought about doing hardcore wrestling and shit.
Yeah, I don't know. I heard that story too. I kind of believe it, but it also sounds like that guy fucking had that in his back pocket for 30 years. You know what I mean? Like 30 years ago, I did this deal. What'd you do? You know? And he's like, oh, what we're going to do now is we're going to do it on a much, I don't know. I'm not going to argue with it and say that it didn't happen, but it also sounds to me like, yeah, he's just taking something that just happened to happen and then just go like, well, since I just happened to be in what you consider the first one, the first garbage match, I'll just take credit for all the rest of the garbage match.
Just to get the time, just to get the time frame right.
But they never broadened the concession stands in FMW though, did they?
No, I don't believe so.
No, I'm just saying that
if they did, they would have blown up the concession stand.
What I've heard is that Onita said that was the first time that he saw like hardcore wrestling. What made him think about it?
But it was not hardcore. It was terrible. The guy squeezed the mustard at him. He grabbed that yellow container that has the mustard that he put on a pretzel, and he squeezed it at him. You know, and then he threw a mop at him. I mean, it wasn't like he put the guy's hand, his head, his foot, his anything in the oven. You know what I mean? And like close the door when it was on like 550 degrees or anything, or put it in like the fryer basket.
I was gonna say put his face down on the hot dog rollers.
No, he didn't do any of that. He squirted them with mayonnaise and mustard. And then they slipped around on lettuce.
Well, just to get the time for Eddie Gilbert right, I brought up his Wikipedia here. You brought up the time in Memphis, so that happened, and starting in '84 was when he was doing the Fargo's Fabulous Ones thing with Tommy Rich. So, because he had that little couple year run in the WWF, where at one point he was Bob Backlund's protege, or they were trying to build him. He essentially was the young baby face that Bob Backlund's heel opponent could beat up. So Bob Backlund could get revenge on him. But So I mean, he was very close to he was very close to the top of the business, just even at his youngest. Just he was always up there at the top, but never the top.
Well, he got lucky with the I'm sorry, Aaron. Did you have something to say?
No, go ahead.
Oh no, I mean he got lucky when it came to that push, because like all that stuff was like right when the accident happened. Like he was going to be Bob Backlund's protege kind of thing, and I don't know what that really necessarily meant, because at this point Backlund's push was starting to diminish. He was nowhere near as over in the Northeast as he was the previous year and a half, 2 years before that. Not even close. I mean, you were starting to see, like, when he would go to the main events at Boston, Garden, Baltimore, Philly, and if he was wrestling Snuka, Snuka was getting cheered. You could start seeing that. So they thought that if we brought in this young guy and it was like Eddie and I don't know. I wonder if Eddie was being sent up here like to learn how to book. Like I wonder if that was a little bit. I wonder if that was a little bit of the reason why he was sent here, because there's no way that his father, Jackie Fargo, Jerry Lawler, Elvis Presley, I don't fucking know who it was, called Vince and said, "This guy's going to be your future big star here." I'm not buying that, and neither should you be selling it. But I wonder if he was actually sent up here for a different reason. Because we all know that that's what eventually what in my world Eddie Gilbert went on to become. Like I remember him for his work, but I'll remember him way longer for his booking.
But also, and this might be out of left field, but you guys know like how they did the Zbyszko Bruno Sammartino thing, where Zbyszko turned on Bruno or whatever. Like Chad said, the accident happened or whatever. Imagine, like, maybe it was a thing where they thought, oh, we'll get Gilbert being Backlund, like, protege or whatever, and eventually he ends up turning on him. And then you get full heel Eddie Gilbert in the WWF. That would have been some good shit.
Well, I mean, you could see how they were kind of they could have planted that seed with the Masked Superstar anyway, because heel
Gilbert, sorry, I'm just saying like heel Gilbert would have been Piper before Piper. You know what I mean? In the WWF, in the WWF.
Not then. No, yeah, he would have been if Gilbert would have known later what he didn't know then. If he would have known like 2 years like later, you know what I mean? Because he was still green, and there he was a very, very small fish in a big pond at that time frame. And we're even talking about what, 1982?
Yeah, 82 to 84, I think, is when he was there.
But do you guys?
Yeah, I mean that's
like him turning against Backlund or whatever. That would have been some good shit.
And you could how they already started doing it. If Backlund's going to be training this ham bone and teaching them all kinds of stuff, and then I could just think of off top of my head wherever they're out training somewhere. And when Backlund goes to meet Gilbert, and when he goes to meet Gilbert, all of a sudden he looks off into the sunset and he sees the Masked Superstar driving off. You know what I mean? Like what's going on? Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And the Masked Superstar is over there. He's putting on some country music, and they're practicing the swinging neck breaker. They're just he's teaching. They got on some like cane in the barn, and the Masked Superstars just keep swinging neck breaker and Eddie Gilbert until he gets it right. I can just it's like a do-si-do. And then like all of a sudden, after like 2 hours of him swinging neck breaker and Eddie Gilbert, he goes in his car and Backlund pulls up like he's going to teach him how to do that little head thing where he puts his head on the mat and he moves his neck up. And Gilbert's trying not to tell him, I just did 22,000 neck breakers with the Masked Superstar. I can't be doing your little oozy neck thing. Yeah, I can totally see how that could have been a great gimmick. And then have while Backlund's doing that little one wheel gimmick. Yeah, that little handicap unicycle exercise machine that he's got there. If Gilbert didn't turn on him and beat him with the handy boy unicycle machine thing, I can totally see that. And then, but what? Backlund was getting ready to leave anyway.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
I think, and coming after that, I think that a team that doesn't get talked about enough that I think was underrated because I think they were a good
Gilbert and Hennig.
I was going to say Gilbert and Terry Taylor when they were together in Mid-South.
The original. Weren't they the fantastic ones, or were they the They were the fantastic ones, weren't they?
I don't remember what they called themselves. Honestly, I can't remember.
Well, they were rip-offs of the Fats.
Yeah, and that was my favorite Taylor ever was when he was teaming with. I thought they were really good together. Oh yeah,
that was Ann Gunkel, right?
I don't know. What I saw of them, I thought they were with Watts. What I've seen.
No, if you're not telling me, then I'll tell you, because I thought you knew a little more than I do. But no, that was for Ann Gunkel. When Ann Gunkel broke away, and she ran her what I always call her NWO Georgia or NWO Georgia shows, and she had Gilbert and Taylor on there, and yeah, they did a complete rip-off of the Fabulous. I mean, even down to the photo shoots, when they were wearing the same clothes. They maybe even got the same women who were 10 years older at that point.
Oh, yeah. See, that's awesome. I have to look at that because I've never seen that. I just know what I've seen of them as a team was with Watts and the dying days of the UWF right before the NW or blah, blah, I'm sorry, right before Crockett bought the.
And you're talking about Gilbert and who?
Gilbert and Taylor, Terry Taylor.
Oh, well, yeah. Because I'm thinking about as a team. They were together and Bill Watts more as a makeshift because we're in a faction.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
So you just saw more of them when they were just thrown together and put together because they were in the same faction. Yeah. Oh no, Gilbert was in the Fabulous Ones where he turned on Tommy Rich. Did you ever see that?
I have seen that stuff. Yeah,
that's unbelievable. Then he comes back out and apologizes, all that shit. You're wasting what, I don't know, 45 minutes of your TV time for this angle. First off, you got to get this boob out here who's the WFIA guy who was that Meltzer. That was a work, right? That guy was a stooge. He was somebody in the business. He really, if he wasn't the guy from the WFIA, he was somebody smart.
Yes, because I know he was. I know he was. I can't remember who he is though, but because he was on
Pete Letterberg, was it?
Maybe because he was on the Mothership one on the 605 one time and talked about.
I know if you're talking about that where they were going to award him the tag team of the year or whatever. I think that was Pete Letterberg.
Pete Letterberg. I don't know who Pete Letterberg is. You're making it sound like he's somebody I should be knowing about.
Well, then, of course, Chad has. What's Pete Letterberg? Who'd Pete Letterberg ever beat? Of course, what Chad talks about a lot is the short stint that Eddie was the booker in Continental, along with Paul Heyman being his assistant booker, and rejuvenating a territory for what, less than a year?
No, it was probably about 18 months total. But you got to take in consideration the building months.
Right.
There's the months that Gilbert was there. If you want to know what Eddie Gilbert took over Continental, and you're not a dates guy, and you're not very big on that kind of stuff, go back and look at it says, I think it says the first Continental show. It's the one where Dirty White Boy and Tom Pritchard destroy the set of the Continental. That's the first episode. Because Gilbert always said that when they realized they were going to a new set, that they didn't know what they were going to do with the old set. So he just decided to go ahead and trash it. They were just going to
And why not? That's good television.
And they did. They did the whole deal. They broke all the shit on TV, and that's officially is what they consider Eddie's first bookings on TV. And if you've never seen some of his bookings, man, some of his angles, because you got to remember Continental from in like 80, 86, it had really started to take a hit. Really, I mean, 85, I love Continental, but you started seeing it like when they're teasing and bringing in future great superstars as Ranger Ross.
So is that and maybe my time is off, but is that during the time where they turned Adrian Street babyface? Because I always thought that was silly.
I got to be honest, Nate. I turned off Adrian Street. I couldn't tell you two fucking things about Adrian Street that I've seen, because to me that wasn't change the channel heat. That was just I'm done watching wrestling heat. Put on anything else besides Adrian Street, because that fucking guy, it just I don't get it. Never did, never will. It's dumb dyke bitch out there. Fucking what's her name? Brenda. Fucking
Miss Linda.
Get her to whatever the fuck her name is. Get her out of here. Seriously. Miss Linda. Shut the fuck up.
I like his little videos. I liked him.
What? Imagine what I could do to you.
Yeah, street rap.
Video. What's that?
Like street rap and all that shit. I liked it.
Adrian Street?
Yeah, I liked all his videos.
All right, enough. I'm out of here. Goodbye. This fucking guy's telling you. This guy's you're wasting my time tonight on a Monday night telling me how much you appreciate Adrian Street. Come on.
Yeah, I like him.
Let me guess. You're also the president of the Skip Young fan club.
No, I like Adrian.
You're sweet brown Aaron. Yeah. Get out of here.
Well, we've already obviously on the show we've already discussed Eddie's ECW career because we reviewed the time that he was there. Is there any truth to the rumor, Chad? Do you know? Or maybe Aaron, you know? I don't know. But I don't know for sure. But is there truth to the rumor that before he passed, the WWF was thinking about bringing him in and putting him on creative?
Unofficially, in my world, yeah, that was he was about I was gonna say he was about 3 to 6 months away from getting the job, because I think the whole thing was based on his next move was he was going to Puerto Rico, which he went to Puerto Rico, and he had a history of turning Puerto Rico around, and when it's pretty pathetic how Puerto Rico is. Like the business is only good when they find out who the booker is. It's right. It's not like the angles they do. It's like they make a big deal and just go like, all right, well, we just fed you shit angles for the 3 months because Hercules Ayala is the booker. But don't you worry, coming next week, Eddie Gilbert's the booker. It's like
gonna turn around, yeah.
It's like coming through to a Raw.
And if it is true, imagine how great it would have been, because at that time, Levy was there and he was doing he was writing, and Dutch was there and he was writing.
Levy wasn't there anymore.
Who, Scotty?
No, Raven, because Raven's in ECW at this point already, so he wasn't.
Oh yeah, Scotty's done.
Well, I thought you said 93. Sorry.
No, 95. Before he died, I always heard like they were talking to him about coming in.
Dutch was there.
Yes, Dutch was there.
Jim Ross was there, and then you put Eddie in there. It's like Jesus Christ! Imagine that.
Even Cornette was there.
Yeah, imagine that 4-man booking crew. Fucking Jim Ross, Dutch, Eddie, and Jim Ross or whatever. That was
if you weren't one of them Southern wrestling fans, that was the only time in American wrestling history where you were going to be like outvoted in a Booker's meeting, like in big time wrestling. You know what I mean? He said you got Jim Cornette, Jim Ross, you got Eddie Gilbert. You know what I mean? Like,
do you think, Chad, knowing Eddie Gilbert, do you think that within the WWF environment?
No,
Yeah, all right. I was gonna say, would he have had the same fate as Bill Watts? Would they have brought him in, and within a month and a half, 2 months, Vince McMahon would have been like, no? Because remember, Vince brought Bill Watts in late '95 to be the booker for WWF, and within like a couple of months, they were like, this ain't working. Vince and Watts butted heads too much, and I wonder if it would have been the same thing with Eddie.
Because you can't fix broke in a month. You know, it doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. If the last thing these viewers have seen for weeks and weeks and weeks on TV is Korchenko, it's going to take you fucking weeks and weeks and weeks and months to get that taste out of their mouth, or Taurus Bulba. It's going to take months to get this taste out of their mouth. So
in the case of the WWF, Mantar, Dr. Isaac Yankum, DDS, you have to move on from these.
Well, yeah, I mean, and look at how long all they lasted. I think it was the kind of thing because it lasted longer than it should have. I guarantee that. I guarantee you, if you look back at the whole run of things, it lasted longer than Vince McMahon would have had it run. There's no chance Vince would have had it run.
There's an episode of Monday Night Raw. It is it's either September or October of 1995. And if you watch that episode, you can tell that is the one, I guess. I mean, obviously it was from a taping, but you can tell that was the one taping where Vince actually let Watts have the creative, because the heels destroy the baby faces. They have like a 6-man tag or something. And I know the cast is kind of weird, but you have like,
no, look, it doesn't matter. It's booking.
You have Mabel, Yokozuna, and I forget who else, Shane Douglas, and they lay waste to Shawn Michaels, Diesel, and The Undertaker. And you watch that show and you're like, Vince McMahon didn't write this, because with Vince McMahon, the baby faces, they show weakness, but they never.
Is that the one where fucking Mabel
they crush Undertaker's face? Yeah. And it's like Bill Watts definitely booked that. Vince McMahon did not book that, because the heels looked way.
Yeah, because I mean, look at how we're the environment that Bill Watts comes from. You book your heat for TV. You book your revenge for the house shows.
Exactly.
You make them pay to see it. I mean, we're not like, we're not reinventing a wheel or anything here. It's doesn't that sound like anything you've ever heard before? We're gonna beat up the John Cena on TV because we have a big, gigantic In Your House coming up. So we're gonna have Damian Demento lead John Cena laying,
Damian Demento.
I mean, yeah, of course. That's the fucking. I mean, what are you gonna do? You're gonna have John Cena. You're gonna have John Cena have Damian Demento laying.
Damian Demento's so crazy. He's the only wrestler who can see John.
Yes, I mean, or he might be able to. Like if he's booked in the main event that I just super booked, whatever. Yeah, can you see him? I don't know. Are you put pencil next to my name saying I can see him in the ring? Yeah, you can see him. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Fuck.
Well, all right. We can get at least 10.
Still talking about fucking ECW.
I was about to say we can get 10 minutes out of this episode of ECW
45
here.
minutes about nothing about ECW.
No, it ties to ECW. Eddie was there.
For Buck Robley.
They, like Aaron said and Chad said at the beginning of the show, they
literally. Well, I mean, if we're talking about ECW,
they literally have 29 minutes of Shane Douglas cutting a promo, talking about his history with ECW, talking about his history. Of course, he talks about Ric Flair. He talks about everything that happened with Terry Funk. I'm not in any way, shape, or form going to say that anything Shane Douglas did here was bad.
No, it was good.
It was a good promo. And I got like a lot of notes on it because there wasn't anything else to take notes on in the show.
It was his dumb face.
It was just his dumb face. Yeah. He tried to say that, and I understand what he's going with. He was trying to say that he was like the athlete of the day, and the athletes previously weren't as good as the athletes now. But he tried to say Mike Tyson was a better athlete than Muhammad Ali. Now, that's not true. Like, Muhammad Ali was a much better athlete than fucking Mike Tyson.
I think I was a better athlete than Muhammad Ali. I don't want to hear that. How do you know how great of an athlete Muhammad Ali was?
Tyson was just a guy that, and I'm not knocking Mike Tyson, but Tyson was just a guy that could just slug you. But fucking Muhammad Ali was a fucking way better athlete than.
Meaning what? He could run, jump, throw, spit. What? Like how?
He could last longer. He could. Just in my opinion.
Well, I don't know. You gotta have some sort of history behind it. Was he a better dart thrower? I don't know what. I mean, because I can't say that. I don't know what the hell Shane was good at.
He can move better than Tyson. Tyson didn't have to move around. Tyson just had to fucking punch you in the jaw and you'd go down. Fucking Ali had to be able to move around, float around, do all this shit. In my opinion, I didn't agree with that statement. It's a stupid thing to write down, but just in my opinion, all of it, I'm like, eh.
Oh, but it's a great argument. It's a great argument to get people talking about. Get out of here! Who do you think you are?
Yeah, and again, kind of what Douglas is alluding to, like what Aaron's saying is, he's just essentially discussing about the lineage of wrestling. Like, Bruno had to pass the torch to people like Flair and Steamboat. And now he says Steamboat and Flair have to pass the torch to people like him. So essentially what Douglas is saying is he's the next big main event star in professional wrestling, the next great professional wrestler. It never panned out for Shane. It's too bad. He was good at a time. But I think his biggest problem always was, at times, obviously in the WWF, it was politics. Everywhere he went, he did deal with politics. I gotta say, I look back on his career now and I can see why he was a little bit. Back then I was like, what a fucking whiner. Back then I used to think that, what a whiner. But I look back on it now.
Isn't it shocking that when you hear about these guys that go to multiple different companies, like, I mean, look at Punk, for instance. They go to all these different companies and then they end up having a problem with the company. But yet the company's been around for 15, 20 years, 30, 40 years, and not many other people have had problems in that time. But you're here for 10 months.
At a certain point, when you're trying to find the smell,
yeah,
it might be if the smell is everywhere, it might be your upper lip. I'm just
it's like Shane's like Taylor Swift. It's like you listen to every Taylor Swift song. She's bitching about some fucking dude that did her wrong. It's like, hey, Taylor Swift, it's what the same consistent thing in every one of your fucking songs is. You. Shane Douglas is Taylor Swift.
Yeah, right.
Stop being that fucking
Shane Douglas, he didn't. Could you imagine how worse Shane Douglas would be if there would have been like the internet then? Like he would have been CM Punk, right? He would have totally been what CM Punk is.
Yeah.
Out there just constantly bitching about everything, and and he would still do the dumb thing where he would try to go to a Monday Night Raw and take a stupid camera photo of him trying to crash it. But literally, like somebody else gets footage of him paying for an 8-hour ticket and getting a hot dog.
Aaron, did you have more notes on the Shane? I didn't take a lot of notes on the promo, to be honest with you.
Well, I kind of did. Shane Douglas talks about Terry Funk refusing to retire. And they show the Terry Funk, Shane Douglas Ballroom Blitz fight they had where Terry Funk was in his socks. They show Shane defeating Terry Funk on the stage. Then they recap Shane trashing the NWA Championship, which I couldn't remember if we ever talked about whether or not that was right or wrong. Did we ever talk about that?
I don't think we dug too deep into it, no.
I was there. You talking about them trashing the belt gimmick?
Yeah.
Well, look onto the side where you saw Big Fat Ian Rotten dip out of the way when they started brawling. I was right there behind Big Fat Ian Rotten.
Well, that was in the brawl. I'm talking about when he won the tournament and threw the belt.
Oh,
down.
okay.
I don't know if we talked about that a lot. Chad, like, do you think that was like a right thing to do or a wrong thing? Like, do you think it was like a shitty way to go about it, or?
Dude, I mean, you can ask me what I think, or you can ask me what I think is right or wrong. What I'm saying is Paul had a vision. Paul took a gamble. You know what I mean? He could have played ball. And what was that going to get him?
I was about to say,
Were they still talking about where if you join the NWA, you can get votes on the champion, and then you can get dates on the champion? That ain't benefiting ECW.
that's what I was
for.
I think you're kind of in the same thought process that I was in, Chad Aaron, when you posed the question. I think that by that point, it wasn't a shitty decision, just because by 1994, the NWA was just, I mean, honestly, it was just a glorified indie federation. So if you're trying to build your own brand, why not shit on it? I don't know. I'm just saying.
I have a.
It's great. I mean, what's the worst thing you're doing? You're piling on something that doesn't even exist anyway. So it's not like you got a fear of retribution or anything, or
Right.
anybody's going to come back to get you. He's like, this fucking company stinks, and look at it. It stinks to the point where it's not even running anymore. You know, and you want me to be recognized as your champion? What's the matter with you? Enough with this nonsense. And I totally see it, but I mean, I just don't. I just know from just being there that there's no way that would have lasted. That NWA ECW relationship, whether or not it was with Jim Crockett, whether it was not with Jackie Crockett, whether or not it was with Davy Crockett or Betty Crockett, it wasn't going to fucking last because they had too many. There was just too many fucking brains, booking who they wanted the champion to be. There was too many chiefs and not enough Indians. Too many chefs and not enough workers. Too many co-hosts for a podcast and not enough hosts for the podcast. Too much time down on the podcast because I don't know where the rest of the guys went. Anyway, you can check me out on my Twitter at Chad Austin, I think it is. Never mind. My next guest is Archie Mitchell.
I don't know what the fuck happened there. Everything just went.
I was gonna say I'm here. I don't know what the fuck happened.
I just did about 7 minutes of my own show. You fucking left. That's what happened. I just did like 7 or 8 minutes of my own show. I had a fake interview with Archie Mitchell. He was coming up next.
About Archie Mitchell and Betty Crocker.
Yeah, he was coming up next.
Well, let's move on from this Shane Douglas.
Well, the evolution of they started this show and they said the evolution of the franchise, and then the ending of the evolution of the franchise was him cutting a promo on Ric Flair, which, if you remember a couple weeks ago, he said, "I'll never mention Ric Flair's name again because he won't."
Dick Flair.
Like, shut the fuck up, Shane. Like, stop talking about this fucking guy that doesn't even know that you're talking about him. Like, it makes it. I like Shane Douglas and I like ECW, but this is the thing that Shane talking so much about Ric Flair is the thing that makes it seem Bush League. That makes sense.
I see what you're saying. And like you said, Ric Flair has no idea. He's not watching ECW. He has no clue Shane Douglas is cutting promos.
I think I may have even asked Flair about it, and Flair said he had no idea. I have a feeling I told that story because I know I've talked to Flair a couple times, like just in passing, where I'm not going to try to demand like minutes of his time. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
We're getting coffee, we're getting donuts, and I'll just pass him by, ask him a question. But I could have swore he didn't have a clue. Like he didn't know what was going on, and and it's kind of hard because you're looking at a guy who's been doing this for 50 years, to remember every little thing, and
right.
He's still got to try to go out there and explain that Jack Vernino fucking switch in Puerto Rico in '81 or whatever. You know what I mean? He's gonna remember Shane Douglas story.
Yeah, I was gonna say all he remembers about that switch was all the cocaine Piper did in Puerto Rico.
And then the shit that Shane's saying is doesn't make sense either, because he's like, oh, Ric Flair handed me this business is destroyed because he doesn't know how to work and he doesn't know how to do this. It's like, he's a 10 times better fucking worker than you. And he's, you know what I mean? Even
all around, even.
And I'm not even knocking Shane, but even in like this promo that he's cutting in this year or whatever, he's a fucking 10 times better worker than Shane. To me, it makes the Shane Douglas character seem bush league soup.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't have anything to put up against. You know, yeah. while you were main eventing the Garden, I was tearing it up down here at the Continental at the Birmingham Fairgrounds. Like,
I was a dynamic dude,
and I'm not knocking anybody that did any of that, but I'm just saying it's like, he's barking up the wrong tree in my.
Yeah, he goes. He's talking about
my skateboard.
He's talking about how he's challenging Ric Flair and kind of making the point here. He then discusses his next challenger, Marty Jannetty.
Well, if you're really gonna shoot for the stars, I mean, you know, if you're gonna shoot for the stars and you want what's best for your career, if you can't get the stars, you get the people that used to be with the stars.
Yes, the other rocker. That's
the other.
And I like Marty Jannetty.
We all know how that went.
I like Marty. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, I mean, you're going from talking about how much better you are to Ric Flair than talking about how your new number one contender is Marty Jannetty. So there you go.
It's Moondog Splat. It's the equivalency of bringing in Moondog Splat or
Detroit Demolition.
Todd Morton, Ranger Ross. Just insert any one of them guys' names, and the pop you would have gotten with just the same. It's the same pop.
PN News.
Otto's Vance. And you might get 3 people to go, I remember him from the magazines. Never saw him, but I saw his name in black and white.
Big Cat.
Big Cat.
So after Shane promo, we get Joey Styles running down.
What was Joey Styles running down?
Like Nate Frozen.
The upcoming card on Saturday with Douglas and Jannetty for the championship. Cactus Jack against Sandman's mystery opponent. Mikey Whipwreck and Hack versus Paul Loria and Jason. Axel Rotten versus Ian Rotten, and Taz and Sabu versus Malenko and Benoit coming up on Saturday's show. And then we go into Stevie Richards versus Tommy Dreamer with Raven.
Yeah. Matt Classic here, guys. I hope you guys got your VCR ready.
Tommy's tights were terrible.
Fuck yeah, they were.
Yeah, I put in my notes, he looks like a fucking idiot. He's got his mom tights on.
They were his mom's tights. His mom made them. No shit. Did you know that?
I just meant they were like high-waisted, like
wrestling out of Yonkers, New York, wearing Mama Dreamer's tights.
He's such a boob, dude. I get so tired of any time like how is he still relevant? Tommy fucking Dreamer. Seriously. Yet he still does personal appearances at roller rinks and stuff. Like he's still hardcore at roller rinks and axe throwing exhibitions. Fucking, I don't know how Tommy Dreamer pulls this off.
Teflon Tommy Dreamer.
You would think this ECW thing has a shelf life, but apparently not. Not at the soapbox derby. He's gonna be the guest referee at the soapbox derby, and he stinks.
Well, Tommy Dreamer and Stevie Richards have a match, and that's all I can say here. They do some brawling to the outside. They bring in a frying pan, which looks like it's not even a frying pan; it's one of those egg pans to fry an egg. It's a small little for this small little man. And,
I tell you, it's the fucking one you buy right there at the corner. You buy it right there at the corner store, right there on Swanson and Rittner, and it's cheap. It's held together with like Tic Tacs or bubble gum. It's like the rivets that hold a little handle in it. That's why you see it so many times on ECW. Because you can just go right out there and buy a dozen of them, buy a whole box of them frying pans for like $10. And everything in that store was as seen on TV, but it was the generic version of the as seen on TV stuff. It wasn't even the good shit. It wasn't even the stuff that was as seen on TV. It was as seen on your neighbor's TV.
Yeah, it wasn't the Ron Popeil stuff.
No, it was everything was worse. No, I know, I totally know, because I had to. How many times did I say I had to go down there and buy that stupid shit? Paul, give me $50 to go down there and buy like frying pans, and I came back with a whole new cookware set, Tefal. And he's like, "What are you doing?" I go, "What? I mean, I was trying to buy you the best cooking accessories. I thought we were." He's like, "No, I was trying to get New Jack some gimmick." Oh, no, I didn't.
What the hell is he gonna do with a Dutch oven?
Yeah, I mean, here's Chad Austin with an air fryer. What am I doing? I don't know. Yeah, that Dreamer to me, like I just never got into. And he did look like a total fucking. I don't know. Good thing we don't use them kind of words on here. Fag on. He looked. I hate to use them kind of words and stuff like that to describe some. Yeah, that's what he looked like. It's just, and he always does it.
Well, I just know he ripped his shirt off and it exposed his tits.
No, that's because somebody put $10 underneath the shirt. He did it on purpose.
And you knew he
has
was
a big ass boobs.
He does, and you know he's fucking goddamn self-conscious of it. Because normally, like when a wrestler gets their shirt ripped off, they don't put it back on. But he put it back on after it got ripped off. I mean, he's like, "Oh man, everybody's seeing."
He got the surgery. Yeah, he's so self-conscious. He got the surgery
to remove his tits.
The stupid Raven surgery. That's how much he wants to be like Raven. He got the Raven tit surgery.
Well, Dreamer does win this match. Essentially, the finish.
Does anybody really win this match?
A little, a little. Stevie misses a super kick. Tommy hits him with a ball shot, rolls him up, and Tommy wins. Raven in to the ring. They have a stare down, and then Raven and Richards leave. The crowd gives a nice pussy chant to Raven for leaving. And we could say what we want about Tommy, but he's starting to get over.
Whatever, he didn't get over me. Dude, anybody could have been Tommy Dreamer in that. Hack Myers was Tommy Dreamer.
And better, much better.
JT could have been.
JT's problem was, Hack Myers was a better worker than JT. Hack Myers couldn't have been Tommy Dreamer because Hack Myers wanted to be more than Tommy. But he definitely could have been that sympathetic Tommy Dreamer for a while. But eventually his ego would have stepped in. JT, he was never good enough as an actual worker to be that Tommy Dreamer for the payoff, because we'd still be looking for that payoff if it was JT Smith. Like to this day, he's still getting beat up by Raven. You know what I mean? Like we would have never pulled the trigger on JT Smith beating Raven. So yeah, there's a big difference, but I totally understand what you're saying. So picking them people for who was going to be Dreamer was, well, that's got to be one of the most, at this time period, one of the most difficult decisions around, right?
Right.
Because I could have told you. What if I would have told you Bill DeMont was in the running for it? Would you have believed me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, no. I mean, really, he was. But I mean, you look at them. Do you think people are going to go bananas over this guy getting beat up? You know what I mean? Like left laying in a bloody mess by Steve Richards and his goofy henchmen, you know what I mean, kind of thing. Like it had to have been somebody that had to have looked the part. And who was looking the part of Tommy Dreamer that all right, I'll say it, the good looking babyface guy in that year that who really couldn't cut a promo because he still wasn't a good promo then. I got no problem saying that. He has no problem saying that either. But he could take a beating. And he got the crowd sympathy behind him. God bless that motherfucker, man, because he did a whole lot with fucking nothing. That's what I say. But yeah, who else could have been? Who else could have been a good? I mean, Eddie Gilbert obviously could have been a great Dreamer, but we've already been there, done that. But what, Dustin Rhodes? Could you have seen Dustin Rhodes being Tommy Dreamer?
Possibly.
Anybody else?
There isn't really anybody else because you've already positioned Mikey where Mikey's positioned. Foley's too proven as a hardcore. He can be a badass and fight. Foley would look stupid getting laid out like that. because his character doesn't work that. And looking at your other baby faces, no, Dreamer's the only one that fits the bill at this point.
I mean, and Hack. I mean, not Hack Myers, Sandman, but you got Sandman, and he's already booked up, right?
So after this, they do a tribute to Eddie Gilbert. They show us the Paul Loria stuff from last week. We get a Chris Benoit promo talking about Sabu and Taz upcoming this Saturday. And then, of course, a counterpoint promo from Paul Lee on that said match. And then something that I'm hoping I can find it so I could send it, because I don't think they ever show it on TV. It's on the Mick Foley DVD. I would love, Chad, have you ever seen the match that they show the clips from here between Sandman and Foley, where Sandman gets the concussion? It's a nightmare.
From the arena?
Yeah.
I think I was there.
Okay. Yeah, because I was like, they showed the match all chopped up, obviously, but that match is just, if anybody ever gets a chance to watch it, because Sandman it's probably 90 seconds in, and he's done. He's out of it.
The
Dude,
better
I
video.
don't think.
I was just gonna say the better video.
I don't even think
is them showing Sandman watching the video of him not when he doesn't know what's going on.
I don't think they even did anything about that, like medically.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they didn't.
Like, did they?
I don't think so.
No, I mean, I don't even recall it even being a thing coming to the locker room by anybody going like, "Oh my God, I think Sandman's got a concussion." You know, I don't think there was a big to do about it whatsoever at all. Because you know, if it was like an episode of MASH backstage at fucking ECW, it was like little things lined up where there was guys laying up on the beds all over the place, and they just keep bringing out your dead like after every single match. So it was kind of hard to gauge like who was really beat up, because there was, you know, you got me and Donnie Allen laying on separate beds, you know, Dino Sendoff laying on a bed. And all of a sudden they whisk back Hack, and this
isn't a locker room; it's a triage. Jesus Christ!
Yeah. So who knows? But I saw that too, and it kind of reminded me of when I got my concussion with Raven, and how I saw the same look in Sandman's eyes, kind of that I had. It's I don't know where I'm at. I can tell you that I don't have a clue what I'm doing, but all I know is what I'm supposed to do next, and that's exactly what Sandman looked like. When I worked Raven, and he banged my head up on the ring apron off of Frankensteiner, and he knocked me out, and we were laying there. We got to the ring, and the next thing I know, I'm still calling the match, and I went back and watched it on tape, and I have no idea that I was even in the match. None of it to do with it, and Scotty didn't even know that I was even out of it. So it's a difficult thing when you got Sandman who's already drunk on top of it, and he's concussed. And he's probably half-ass going through the match, calling it to you, and you're trying to put it together like, all right, he wants me to throw you in the corner or what? What did he say? You know,
and it was probably beneficial for not only you in your situation with Raven, but for Sandman in his situation with Jack, that when you guys got concussions like that, you were in the ring with good workers that could take care of you and weren't going
if they knew what had happened.
Right.
Do you think Cactus knew what had happened?
Oh, he did.
In this match, Mick keeps fucking hitting him, and Sandman keeps getting up, and he just keeps fucking hitting him, and Sandman even says it in the video where he's watching it because he was out of it and he didn't remember any of it. And he watches it and he goes, "This is the only time I've ever seen Mick mad. Like, Mick is getting fucking mad because Sandman keeps getting up. And that last fucking chair shot he gives him or whatever, that is Mick just being like, this motherfucker needs to stay down." He's getting
so he gives him so Mick Foley gives Sandman a bunch of like shots to the head to where he concusses him. But at the fact that he wouldn't stay down, that he keeps getting up from getting the chair shots to the head or whatever. So in order for him to keep the Sandman down, he has to keep hitting him in the head with the chair?
Pretty much.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I read this correctly.
Because the first
this is
one,
Mick Foley's rationale on this.
Like the first two in, Sandman's out, and Sandman was just like, my instinct is to keep getting up, and he's like watching it, and he's like watching it in like third person, watching the video, and he's kind of figuring out what's going on. He's like, fucking Mick's pissed because I just keep getting up, because my natural reaction is to, if I get knocked down, I get back up. Fucking Mick.
Classically trained. That's the classically trained Sandman right there. That's the guy who went to the world famous Owen Hart, whatever, Stu Hart School of Wrestling, or Don Owens School of Wrestling. I don't know where it was, what school of wrestling. The Helen Keller School of Wrestling.
My last note is watching this match would probably make Chris Nowinski piss himself. But guys, it is time to wrap it up here on Reliving the Extreme for this week. I guess this week, listeners, thank you for indulging us. This wasn't as much a show about ECW as it was about Eddie Gilbert, but that's okay, because there should be discussion of him anyway, especially with this show being a few days after he passed on. Any parting words for our listeners, Aaron?
Nope, just thanks for listening, guys. We appreciate it. And I read some of that. We actually have some reviews out there or whatever, so I appreciate that. And like I say, podcasts is very much a word of mouth situation. So if you like the podcast, tell your friends, tell your wives, get it out.
What are you, fucking Jimmy Valiant? What is Handsome Jimmy coming to town?
It's Aaron Maxson's Boogie Woogie Tour 2022.
Oh my God. The whole entire, whatever your platform is, all the shows, the cooking show with Archie Mitchell. That's great. I mean, Thanksgiving was just a couple days ago. We had some great tortellini. Thank you, Archie, for the recipe for that one. Yeah, I mean, all the shows you guys have. The show you guys do, the one you do, Nate, with your wife or whatever.
Oh yeah, the Motley Soup podcast. Yes,
the Motley Cruz. You do Motley Cruz's podcast.
Yep.
When are you guys gonna have him on?
But hard times.
You're doing Motley Cruz's podcast, but yet he's not even on the show.
Do you know how amazing it would be to do a podcast with Cruz?
I'll get him. He's
under a bridge somewhere.
Dude, I'll find him. I bet you I can find somebody in Arkansas that is Bill Ash still alive?
Bill Ash actually
just died a couple of weeks ago.
We interviewed that guy. We interviewed Jumpin' Jeff Farmer.
Yep, there you go.
We interview him, and then at the end of it, we just pay that guy that interviewed him like $20. Just go, Jumpin' Jeff Farmer. That's how we have the podcast.
Dude, all right. If it's going to take Jumpin' Jeff Farmer for me to get Motley Cruz or anybody else from 5 Star on there, even the commentator guy, I'll get him on there. I'll get whoever you want. You line them up. I'll get them. I'll find them. I'll get them. I'll tell them who I am, and I'll make it sound like I'm big because I'm in a big state like Baltimore, and you're in fucking Arkansas, Bill Ash lovers. Yeah, you're all down there worshiping Bill Ash and shit, and I'm from Bruno Country, pal. You want to be on my stupid podcast? You send me a list. I'll get a bunch of these Jeff Farmers.
That's it for this week, ladies and gentlemen, on Reliving the Extreme. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time around. Hopefully next week's episode has some more content to review. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for indulging us. And like Aaron said, let people know if you like the podcast, if you like any of our shows, all of our shows. Let them know about Reliving the Extreme, the WrestleNet Radio Podcast Network, and our whole family of podcasts. Did you say, Aaron?
Yeah.
You got to read it.
Destroy.
Rate and comment.